Insightful podcasts by informative hosts. Insights into Things, a podcast network. Welcome to Insights into Entertainment, a podcast series taking a deeper look into entertainment and media. Your hosts, Joseph and Michelle Whalen, a husband and wife team of pop culture fanatics, are exploring all things from music and movies to television and fandom.
Welcome to Insights into Entertainment. This is episode 54, Odd Jobs, Makeovers, and Baby Yoda. I'm your host, Joseph Whalen, and my talented and informative co-host, Michelle Whalen.
Hi.
And how are you doing today, sweetheart?
More awake than last week.
That's a trick. We got to do these earlier in the day.
Yes, we do.
So, in today's Insights into Entertainment, we don't actually have any entertainment news to talk about.
Well, technically we do. They're all entertainment stories. It's just that we have them categorized in our top two.
We have to stop making so many segments. That's
right, exactly. If we just talk about things in random order, then they're all entertainment news.
We'll throw the stories into a jar and pull them out.
There you go. Maybe that's what we do.
So in our Disney Detective, we have some news about odd jobs. Then we'll be talking about Cinderella Castle getting a makeover. And then we'll talk about your buddy and mine buying Bob a beer. Then in our Star Wars Insights, we have talk of possibly a new movie in the works. Dun, dun, dun. Then we will talk about Star Wars fans petitioning for a director's cut version of Rise of Skywalker, which honestly, I'm not really sure that's going to help it much, but okay, we'll move on. And then we will talk about Baby Yoda. And then, of course, we'll finish up with our insightful picks of the week. And then a quick discussion on every trade show, comic book show, pop culture show, horror show, every show coming to the area. We'll recap those. Ready to get started?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. For Disney Detective.
So this was an article that popped up the other day where it basically was, what is it like to be a real-life Disney princess? And basically it was a back-and-forth interview with a woman who, back when she had graduated high school, had worked at Disney for a number of years, and basically for 4 years, and basically talked about what her experience was like being, a princess. And, what was, interesting in the article is, as you know, I have a very close friend who worked for Disney for many years in the entertainment area, was a close personal friend of Pluto, and, other various characters as well. So reading this article, a lot of things that I knew that he had told me and experiences and things like this were very, very similar to this. So it was, interesting to see that it wasn't, that a lot of people have that same type of, experience with it. So the person that was in the article, like I said, worked at Disney World for 4 years, starting in 2008 when she was just 18. Today she's 30 years old and has a job in the video game industry. But she looks back at her time as a princess, with fond memories. She talks about how she went through, a crash course in how to be a princess and how to act like a princess. She ended up being Pocahontas, Mulan, and Silver Mist, who was a Peter Pan fairy that was from the Disney Fairies direct-to-DVD film. And, you know, so she talks about how it was to work, for Disney and be part of that whole thing. And it's funny because in the article she talks about how, they were never allowed to say what character they were. They always would say, "I'm a friend, of Pocahontas."
Right.
And it was funny because my friend, that's what he, would always say. So it was just kind of, funny that was the set thing. So it talks about, how she got her foot in the door, and she talks about how Disney actually came to her high school basically to try and recruit, people to come and work for Disney. And she mentions that nobody actually starts out right in entertainment. You actually start out working other areas, of the park. And at the time, she actually started working at Honey, I Shrunk the Kids Playground, which we kind of were joking about last week. So that was actually how she got her start in the park. So, she talks about how, basically she was a babysitter, a glorified babysitter, because she would watch kids, jump around in the play area. And then they would do these open auditions for the entertainment area, and because of her background, she's half Asian and half white. It was like, oh, you're perfect for, Pocahontas. So she learned how to be Pocahontas, and she talks about how, she had to watch the movies, and they were very particular about, how you stand and everything. But what was interesting is before she could actually be Pocahontas, which is what they consider a face character, you had to spend time in a costumed character. So like Mickey, Minnie, Winnie the Pooh or whatnot. And she talks about how, that a lot of the characters, and again, we kind of knew this also, is that it's based off of their height, not necessarily their gender. So she says, Mickey and Minnie, you have to be between 4'11" and 5'1". So usually the majority of the time, Mickey and Minnie are always women.
Right.
Or, just smaller framed men. And she said that she had a friend who ended a male friend who actually played the Queen of Hearts. And he said it was the funniest thing because guys would come over and kiss, the Queen of Hearts' hand and be like, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful," and, be flirting, with this character, not knowing, that it was a guy, inside. So it was kind of funny, her take, on the thing. And then, so she talks about how, there's almost that hierarchy too of, okay, if you're a costumed character, you can be anybody, but you have to look a certain way to be a face character. So even though it's not really said, there is that, I'm a little bit better than you, because I'm the face character, and she said there were some days where, because she played Pocahontas for 5 days a week, for 3 months at a time. And, it's like you wake up and you're like, oh, I don't want to be Pocahontas today.
Well, and the costume characters don't get to speak. The face characters do.
Right.
So there's a certain amount of, there's not that there isn't acting with the costume characters, but it's almost from a mime standpoint.
Yeah. And
where with the face characters, I would think it's probably easier with the face characters because you can speak. Like, you have to, as a costume character, you have to learn to get your expressions and out without speaking.
And there have been some, costumed characters that we've come across that have just been amazing with, what they do and the physical aspect of it. So, yeah, I could definitely see how, they don't get as much recognition, as some of the other characters, and then she even talked about how, it was kind of a little creepy because, like as Mulan, she's, dressed like head to toe. She's, almost fully covered. And then Pocahontas is kind of scantily dressed.
Right.
And you'd get like the creepy grandfathers that would kind of be like,
trying to cop a feel.
Yeah, and obviously, we had an article, a couple of months back where, one of the character, one of the cast members who was Ariel got,
Yeah.
assaulted. So, in some cases, while it's cool that you're doing this and, so different than, most 9-to-5 jobs, there are those, hazards, I guess. But it was an interesting, article, like I said, to read through. And
so you mentioned that she's working in game development now.
right.
Is she like a voice actress, or is she developing? Is
No,
she an artist?
She's computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason I ask is I know a lot of people who are character portrayals in Disney
right.
do it as a way to get into an acting career.
Yeah, she really did it just kind of, it was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I'll do it for a couple of months. Like, she really didn't think she was going to be there as long as she, as she was. She
Right.
ended up, doing it for 4 years and then, got out of it. But, she said it was definitely an experience, one that she, enjoyed. And, would definitely, if it's something that, you're interested in doing, she kind of, does recommend, getting into it. But no, you're not going to get into entertainment right off the bat. And again, I know that from, my friend's experience. He would say, oh, they have open, casting, like every 6 months or something, they would do like open casting. And even people that were already in entertainment would have to audition for
Right.
certain parts. So it wasn't like you always stayed in that part forever.
Yeah.
You had to re-audition and, maybe you went and did a show.
Well, and that's the
or,
thing, because when you're in costume like that and you're working in Florida, for example,
Yeah.
As you age through the part, there comes a point where you just physically can't do
Right.
that anymore.
Right.
And that's what happened with your friend.
Yeah.
It just got to the point where his health wasn't good enough to be in that costume,
Right.
in that heat,
Right.
for such an extended period of time. And Disney does do a very good job rotating their characters
Yeah, you're
in
not
and out
on
to keep
stage
them
for, so many hours.
Right.
It's a short period of time that you're on stage, then you're off stage,
Right.
so it's an equal
But
balance.
in
and
his
stuff.
case, he was able to move into the hospitality wing of the resorts and moved out of character portrayal. But
Well, he actually started. That's actually where he originally started.
right.
He started in hospitality, ended up going to entertainment, and then went back to hospitality before leaving. And
right, I guess my point is
Yeah.
that Disney, if you reach a point where you can't do that anymore,
right, you're not completely
Disney doesn't just wash you out.
right.
you
Right.
know.
In most cases, there's probably something still
Yeah.
available for you. But
So-
like I said, it was an interesting take, and again, because I already knew somebody that had a lot of this experience, it was interesting to hear somebody else's take on it, which was very similar. So
And more power to him to her and to your friend for doing that. I don't think I'd have the self-confidence or the courage or the physical endurance to do something like that down in that kind of environment. So tell us about the castle.
So Cinderella's Castle at Disney World in Orlando will soon look very different. Jason Kirk, the vice president of Magic Kingdom, announced in the Disney Parks blog on Monday that the iconic structure would get a makeover in honor of the 70th anniversary of Cinderella. Though Kirk didn't reveal specific changes coming to the castle, he did share a mock-up of what it's expected to look like after the renovations. While the castle structure looks the same, as in the mock-up, it seems to be painted in pink, navy, gold in place of the current blue and gray. Obviously, inside the castle, you can dine at Cinderella's royal table. They have the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. Years ago, they had made the one-of-a-kind suite that now I think is reserved for very exclusive VIPs. You never hear about anybody really staying there anymore. So it's unclear when it's supposed to be unveiled, but obviously renovations are going to be starting within the coming weeks and during the summer. The stage shows that they have Mickey's Royal Friendship Fair and Happily Ever After fireworks will still be going on during the renovations. It's likely that the renovations are hopefully going to be completed by Magic Kingdom's 50th anniversary, which is going to be October 1st of 2021.
Now, are these changes going to have anything to do with the 50th anniversary?
I don't know, because I was expecting that the changes were going to be for the 50th. I didn't realize that they were doing it because of Cinderella's 70th. So maybe they're kind of mixing them together, because the colors that I had originally heard were rose gold.
Right.
And obviously that's
Sponsored
not...
by Apple?
Right. They're talking, pink, navy, and gold, which I guess maybe match a little bit more to the colors from Cinderella, maybe.
And hopefully won't be as ugly a sin as the birthday cake was.
You know what? The birthday cake was not that bad.
What was the one that you didn't like?
I
know you weren't fond of the one when they hung a mirror on the side of it.
No, I liked that one.
Did you like that? There was one that you absolutely hated.
No, I never... see, and the birthday cake I didn't hate. It was just loud. Looking back at it now, I'm like, okay, that was very... I think it was a little too much. Yeah. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I felt bad for anybody that got married within those 18 months, and you got married and got married at Disney World. I happened to be on a honeymoon while that was going on, so it wasn't horrible,
right.
And I have a friend who absolutely loved it. She actually has a piece, I guess, when they
piece
took
of the
it.
cake?
Yeah, when they dismantled it, they sold off, pieces of it where, you got a little certificate saying, that it was authentic, from the cat. She absolutely loved it. So
how long are they supposed to keep it like this?
It doesn't say. So I don't know if it's just going to be, usually when they do something like that, it's usually for 18 months, usually 2 years. So, so I'm guessing at some point it'll,
well, I'm sure we'll probably get down there in the time.
I'm sure we'll see it.
So let's talk about buying my buddy Bob a beer.
Well, it's not. So Tom actually owes him a beer.
Okay,
it's not that, So, so last summer, Tom Holland helped save the Spider-Man deal, and now Disney CEO, your best friend, Bob Iger, would like a little something in return. Nothing huge. He just tweeted that the wall-crawling actor owes him a beer for helping salvage the negotiations between Disney and Sony. The story famously goes that while the internet was having an internal meltdown in the days and hours after the news broke, Holland took matters into his own hands. The result made fans around the world breathe a sigh of relief, as Spider-Man would get to have that final solo adventure in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Each company is now building for their future in what is called a win-win-win by both sides of executives earlier today. So Iger obviously wants a drink to celebrate. So he tweeted the other night that he was at last night's premiere of Pixar's latest film, Onward, and he got a chance to see Chris Pratt and Tom Holland, and he says, Tom owes me a pint for saving Spider-Man. So the pint is actually a joke because Tom boasts that he's a pub trivia master. So that's where the whole pint came in. And it was actually a moment outside of a bar that could have ended up saving everyone's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. All of it had to be read to get the full scope of how the exchange went down. So Bob Iger had said, miraculously, he was at the D23 event, and Tom was there because he was the voice in this new Pixar movie. So he said something on stage, and it was clear that fans wanted Tom back as Spider-Man. And so after D23, Tom actually reached out to folks to get Bob's contact information. They said, hey, can you give me his phone number or his email or whatever? And they were like, okay. So they gave him the information. Tom and Bob ended up talking, and and Bob Iger says that, he almost made me cry on the phone, basically saying how much he cared about the character and that fans really wanted him, and that Bob said, okay, let me see what I can do. And that's when he got off the phone with Tom and called Sony executives and were like, all right, we need to hash this out. We need to, save this. And lo and behold, Spider-Man was saved. So whether or not that's how it really went down is,
So
it makes for a nice story.
So, all right. So I got to take a step back here and kind of give my 2 cents here.
Of course you do.
All of a sudden, Bob Iger's been CEO of Disney for quite some time now.
Mm-hmm.
He's developed, we'll say, a reputation as being kind of divorced from the average person, kind of cold-hearted towards his employees based on some bad press he got from other Disney family
Right,
members.
from Disney family members, right.
And all of a sudden, we're seeing all these feel-good stories about Bob helping out here and helping out with the PTA and
mm-hmm.
how, Bob's really not that bad of a guy. He just wants to have a beer with you now. So it seems an awful lot, almost like he's going to run for president, Like he's doing everything he can to sort of salvage his reputation at this point in time.
I wonder when the next shareholder meeting is, if there's something.
And that's the thing. Like he already announced he's only staying through 2023, I
something
think,
like
something
that.
like that. So
Yeah.
he's not going to be there much longer.
Right.
But what are his ambitions afterwards is what I want to know. Why do you need to repair a reputation that you didn't care about up until now to begin with?
Right.
So I kind of take this story a bit tongue-in-cheek here as, Bob Iger trying to get some good press again.
Nothing wrong with that.
Maybe I'm just bitter about Bob Iger, but I really think he's fishing for compliments at this point.
Hey, maybe that's what it is.
So anyway, not to be skeptical.
Nope.
But it's Bob Iger, so I can't help it. So that was all we had for Disney Detective.
That was it for Disney stuff.
We will come back with Star Wars Insights.
Pew, 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 pew.
Tell us about a new Star Wars movie.
So, as Lucasfilms is mapping out the next phase of the Star Wars movies, executives are grappling with the question as development moves ahead. Which characters, which stories, justify a theatrical release, and which should be exclusively on the streaming platform of Disney+. So The Hollywood Reporter learned on Friday that a new Star Wars project is in the works. DJ Dillard, best known for writing and directing sci-fi thriller Slay, and Matt Owens, a writer on Marvel shows like Luke Cage and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., has been tapped to develop it. But insiders say that it's undecided whether the project will be for the big screen or for the highly prioritized streaming platform. Plot details and character details and settings are really unknown, so this is really kind of at the starting point, of everything. So Disney and Lucasfilms appear to be shifting gears on the franchise to help boost Disney Plus, with Disney chairman Bob Iger saying earlier this month that the Star Wars' foreseeable future was really in television, with theatrical movies kind of going on hiatus. Now, the next theatrical film remains to be released December 16th of 2022, and other entries planned for December of 2024 and then December of 2026. So while Rise of Skywalker grossed $1.07 billion globally since its December launch, and will likely end its run as the 6th highest grossing film of 2019, the trend for Star Wars films at the box office has actually been declining since Disney took over in 2015, with Force Awakens making a little over $2 billion, and then obviously Solo grossed,
Tanking.
$392 million. But, on the flip side is that since November's launch of Disney Plus, The Mandalorian obviously has, created a lot of buzz and, boosted their, subscribership, up to 28.6 million. And that the second season of The Mandalorian is going to be arriving in October. So, with all of this, going on, and in the different spin-offs, it seems like their plan right now is really TV. They in the one article they said, we realized we saturated it. They know that they made too many movies too quickly.
Well, because they tried to go the route of Marvel with Star Wars, and you can do that when the movies are really good and there's a demand for the story for it. But when you put out movies like Solo and they're terrible, and then you put out movies like Last Jedi, and you put out movies like Rise of Skywalker, like you're putting stories out there for the sake of having stories. Where if you look at what they did with Marvel, they had a 10-year plan, for Marvel. They knew where the story was going to start and where it had to progress to. They might not have had all the details in the middle, but they were able to borrow from the comics. And they took the general story. And the big mistake that Disney made when they acquired Lucas was they decided that they were going to throw out the entire expanded universe and rewrite everything themselves. And that's where they shot themselves in the foot.
And that's where I think now they're kind of realizing that they made a mistake, because if they had done something like that, said, okay, expanded universe, we have all these characters that not everybody knows about. Let's introduce this one. Let's do this.
Golden opportunity to take 30 years of expanded universe novels, cherry pick the ones that were the best, and put the whole storyline together. Now, I'll be the first one to admit that not everything from the expanded universe was worth keeping, but there was a ton of stuff out there that was, and they could have progressively picked what they wanted, just like Marvel did. Marvel cherry-picked, and they didn't even cherry-pick the stories necessarily. They cherry-picked the concepts and the characters, and they redefined characters that were lesser-known characters. Who would have thought they would have taken Guardians of the Galaxy? And it turned into a huge success because of the way they reinvented it. And Disney decided, almost in spite of Lucas, that they're going to throw everything away and show Lucas who's boss, and they're going to redo it themselves. And everything they did right from the start of when they acquired Lucasfilms was exactly that. And now you see the movies themselves tried to harken back to some of that stuff. The novels now. One of the novel series that was the best was the Thrawn trilogy that came out, that was set in the expanded universe, and everyone loved it. Came out in the late 90s, and the idea was that would have been the perfect sequel trilogy after Return of the Jedi. Everybody loved it who read it, and they threw the whole thing out. Well, now people love those characters. People loved Grand Admiral Thrawn so much, they're now bringing him back in animated TV series and in the novels and everything else, because it was such a good character. Timothy Zahn was a genius when he created that character. And Disney's finally starting to appreciate this, but it's too late, because they've ruined the franchise with the direction that they went.
And maybe it's something that, they can kind of fix, because, look at also, before, Marvel's revamp their whole 10-year, there were Marvel movies before. There were,
Well, they were terrible movies, but they weren't done by Marvel. That's why.
Well, that's the thing, is you had, and maybe that's the thing that Disney now has to realize is, listen, we know we can put out quality stuff. We just have to pick the right quality stuff.
Well, the thing that concerns me is that in order for them to save this franchise, is they need to reinvent it. And the last thing that I want is my childhood Star Wars being reimagined by Disney, because they've already done a bang-up job ruining what we had already. But speaking specifically to this movie, there is talk. First of all, the good news is that Rian Johnson's name is nowhere on this project, which is probably the best news of anything that I've seen so far. Keep Rian Johnson away from Star Wars for the rest of the Star Wars franchise, and you should be okay. But there is talk that there's a fundamental shift in time periods for this. So this movie itself, there was talk that it's going to be set in the Old Republic. Now, the Old Republic happens to be a very expanded universe rich topic, between video games and novels. The game that I play now, which is Star Wars The Old Republic, is set 3,000 years before the Luke Skywalker saga ever existed.
Okay.
So there's such a rich history of it there, and there's so much you can do that doesn't affect the Star Wars that we know and love now. It's sort of like how J.J. Abrams reinvented or relaunched Star Trek. But you don't have parallel timelines that you're worrying about. If you reset this entire thing and you start a movie 3,000 years ago, so much can be explained that would support what we know already rather than ruin what we know already.
True.
So I'm kind of looking forward to how this project develops and hoping that it kind of goes that direction. But very grateful that Rian Johnson's not associated with it at this point. Okay, what else did we have here? So tell us about the Star Wars fans, which I'm going to have a very strong opinion on here, petitioning for a director's cut of Rise of Skywalker.
So some Star Wars fans are petitioning J.J. Abrams to release an extended cut, director's cut of Rise of Skywalker, following a widely circulated rumor that the studio imposed changes on the filmmaker's original version of the final episode of the Skywalker saga. Basically, it was posted on Reddit, and, people were saying that Abrams was blindsided by changes, without his involvement. According to the Reddit user, Abrams' original version was a 3-hour-long film, and there were lots of differences between that version and the 2-hour and 22-minute theatrical version that obviously everybody got to see in the theaters. The petition was launched on change.org and has garnered 5,800 signatures, so it's not breaking records, anytime soon. But various people, have been tweeting to have it come out, and that the hashtag release the JJ cut has emerged as a trending topic. They were saying that there were, changes that came in, and that maybe it would have been a better movie had, he had more control over it. The one person in the article talks about how, JJ, Star Wars, is such a geek fest, and, that there was just so much there, and, Easter eggs and things, and just, things got moved around, and it was just kind of all over the place. So more than likely, obviously, it's not going to happen because it's going to be available on DVD in March. So obviously it's not going to happen anytime soon, but it would be interesting to see if anything, comes about, or maybe somebody makes their fan version of it. 'Cause now every day, there's always a new fan version of something coming out. So I wonder if somebody will go back and find the notes and, make all these changes, for everybody else to see.
Let me get up on my soapbox here, okay?
All right, I'll sit back.
First of all, you could add another 40 minutes to that movie and it still would have sucked. You couldn't save that movie with a director's cut. You couldn't have saved it with a shredder, okay? The people that are putting this petition together are the reason this movie was so terrible, because Disney and Abrams bent over backwards to cater to all the fans that bashed, myself included to a certain extent, that bashed The Last Jedi because of how bad a job Rian Johnson did on Last Jedi. So it took so much criticism and so much heat from the fans that Abrams and Disney decided that they were going to make a fan fest movie. And what you got in Rise of Skywalker was nothing short of a fanfic film on a Disney budget. So there's nothing that a director's cut is going to come out with that's going to make it any better than it was, because it was a fundamentally flawed movie. It was a fundamentally flawed plot. It lacked any kind of substance whatsoever. And it reinvented a villain that was dead to begin with, that by reinventing and reincarnating the villain, you completely wiped away anything that happened in the original trilogy. So, no, another 40 minutes is not going to solve the problem with this movie. And the fans need to stop having petitions and complaining and stuff like that. Let the people who know how to tell stories, tell stories. If J.J. Abrams had the freedom to do what he should have done with this film, you would have gotten a film that was 200% better than it was. If anyone tied J.J. Abrams' hands, it was the ridiculously fickle fans of Star Wars who bitched and moaned about Last Jedi and made Disney force J.J. Abrams to make that steaming pile of manure that was Rise of Skywalker.
So how do you really feel? I'm not really sure. I'm feeling like you're kind of on the fence.
Well, let's add another 40 minutes of crappy film, because that's certainly going to make it better, right?
Absolutely.
All right, that'll be another 20 minutes of Palpatine shooting lightning into the air and taking an entire fleet out. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what we need to make it better. Tell us about Baby Yoda while I get my blood pressure back down here.
Should we play some calming music or something?
Baby, I'll put pictures of Baby Yoda.
Put pictures of Baby Yoda up. That'll make you feel better. So, obviously, Baby Yoda was definitely the breakout star of The Mandalorian, but it finally looks that he's going to be the breakout star of this year's Toy Fair. A slew of Baby Yoda toys, say that 5 times fast, just dropped at a Disney event, and all of them, but out of all of them, I'm sorry, the Hasbro audio, blah, 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 blah. The Hasbro animatronic plush was the highlight of this. He is just adorable. I saw it and I was like, I need that. So the child plush by Hasbro, as you might expect, is incredibly lifelike in person. He burbles and coos like a good baby should, and his ears wiggle up and down, and his head quirks from side to side.
Does he force choke people?
I don't know, because at one point he does kind of go like this.
Nice.
His ears wiggle up and down, and every so often he extends a tiny arm to use the force. So yeah, he does kind of, he could choke you. The bassinet that they were showing, I think, is sold separately. It's not included. But you do get, there's a necklace that comes with it. And they said that by touching Baby Yoda's head, it activates over 25 sounds and motion combinations. And then if you lay him down, he'll take a force nap.
A force? Is that like a power nap, but more powerful?
Yeah, I think so. But the incredible thing is that it's only going to retail for $60, which is really, impressive for, what it does and the way that it, and looks. Again, you get a stylish necklace that comes along with it. And the bassinet is not included. So I'm guessing that might be an add-on, or they might have just shown that for,
But I'm sure it's available on Etsy, though.
I'm sure somebody has it on Etsy. Now, now that we've seen it at the Toy Fair, it's not coming out until, December.
What's the release date? December 15th of 2020?
Yeah, this article actually just said sometime later this fall. Because basically, the people that go to the toy show are,
your dealers.
Your dealers. And so they're looking for, what they're going to place orders for. So now, they're placing orders to have these in, the store. So it looks like this Christmas, everybody will be able to get.
Missed it by that much.
But like we were saying, the other night, the new season of The Mandalorian will be coming out in October. So for people that missed it, didn't watch it, the first time around, you're going to get those new people, and, it's still going to be just as fresh in people's minds.
Well, and your first batch of Baby Yoda toys from Hasbro will be coming out in March anyway. March, April's when they're targeted, so...
Right. So for Easter, you'll get
the less sophisticated static toys.
Right.
And they'll hold you over until, you can get your official...
Or you can just go on Etsy and look for baby aliens and Alien Baby?
Alien Baby, I think it is.
Alien Baby. If you need to tied yourself over, which, you know.
still didn't bring the other one up with the frog in its mouth.
No, because, I meant
You
to.
really need to do that, because I think
slacker.
that one was awesome.
Yeah, and that's nice because it doesn't look like Baby Yoda. It looks like Baby Yoda, but it doesn't look like...
It's recognizable as Baby Yoda.
Right, it's like a caricature of him,
Right.
and very well done.
Like anime.
Yeah, but not.
Right. So, it looks cool.
It does look cool.
It's December. You got to wait for it, though. So,
It's okay. Well, it's the end of February. So
yeah.
not so bad.
Does it come with the little metal ball and the frog?
It didn't say. It didn't say that he was... I could see that being like an add-on accessory pack.
Yeah.
That you get that later on, so...
So that was all we had, excuse me, for Star Wars Insights. We will come back with our insightful picks of the week.
Okay.
For your pick, my dear.
So my pick of the week is Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. They have been advertising the show for a good couple of months now. And I think the first episode, up until it premiered on television, you could actually stream it. It was available, the whole first episode. So the premise is, after an unusual event, whip-smarted computer coder Zoe Clark magically begins to hear people's innermost wants and desires through popular songs. Suddenly, strangers, friends, and co-workers and family are unknowingly singing their feelings, but just to her. At first, Zoe questions her own sanity, but after some guidance from Mo, her neighbor, who happens to be musically attuned, and making a breakthrough with her ailing father, Zoe soon realizes this unwanted curse may be just an amazing and wonderful gift as she now connects to the world like never before. It's a musical comedy. It's one of those things where, when they break out into song, like a musical, she's the only one that sees it or hears it. Because there's one scene with her and Mo, they're in a coffee shop, and Zoe says, "Oh my God, it's starting." And then you see it from Mo's perspective, and everybody's just standing there ordering coffee. And then you see it from her perspective, and everybody's singing and dancing, around.
My God, it's like she lives in a Disney movie. That must be terrible.
But the music, it's all different genres and time period. They did, Jonas Brothers, they did the Beatles, just all over the place. Whitney Houston even, so they've done, there's some dance routines and there's
these remixes of the songs? Or
yes, it's remixes because the cast members are actually singing the song. So it's not, it's not just, them overdubbing.
It sounds like it sounds almost like Glee, where you're going to get a soundtrack out of here with really cool versions
you
of the
could definitely, do that. And some of the songs, they take it a different tempo or a different, Cyndi Lauper's True Colors.
Right.
Her father sings it to her. And the way that he sings it to her, it's like, wow, I never heard the song done that way or meaning the way that it was.
Yeah.
So what's kind of interesting is with her dad, he had some neurological rare disease. So basically he's not really in a coma, but he can't talk, he can't really move, he can't gesture or whatever. And she's talking to him, and all of a sudden he's, in her mind or whatever, he's singing a song and relaying to her, what his true feelings are. And where, like, the mom was very protective, since the dad got sick, we can't take him outside, we can't do this. And you find out that he had always loved going boating and stuff. And after she has this one interaction with her dad, she basically tells her mom and her brother, we're taking dad out on the boat. He wants to go out. And, like, you can see, just a glimmer of a smile that's what, he wanted. So, so you see that, so she's starting to see that it's not really a curse.
Right.
That she's finding out okay, I can really help. And then, she finds out that her best friend has a crush on her because he starts singing a love song to her while they're in the middle of something. She's like, oh my God, we got to stop.
Interesting.
So it's interesting because, again, it's probably going to be one of those things. I'm sure there's a soundtrack available, on iTunes or will be available. Kind of refreshing, kind of different. Kind of quirky, so if you like things like Glee, Smash was another show that I had liked that had that musical balance to it as well. I would definitely recommend it.
Cool. Nice pick.
Thank you.
So I've been on a reading kick lately. So this
You have?
I have. And my pick this week is a novel. It's a Star Wars novel called Rebel Rising. Rebel Rising is a novel written by Beth Revis and published by Disney Lucasfilm Press. It covers 13 years of Jyn Erso's life between the opening of the main events of Rogue One, a Star Wars story, when she was a rebel fighter alongside Saw Gerrera and survived on her own afterwards. The novel was released May 2nd, 2017, so I'm a little bit behind on my reading.
Just a little.
So the intro is when Jyn Erso was 8 years old. Her mother is murdered and her father taken from her to serve the Empire. But despite the loss of her parents, she's not completely alone. Saw Gerrera, a man willing to go to any extremes necessary to resist Imperial tyranny, takes her in as his own daughter and gives her not only a home, but all the abilities and resources she needs to become a rebel. You rebel scum. Jyn dedicates herself to the cause and the man, but fighting alongside Saul and his people brings with it danger and the question of just how far Jyn is willing to go as one of Saul's soldiers. When she faces an unthinkable betrayal that shatters her world, which is mentioned, by the way, in the movie, but not depicted, Jyn will have to pull the pieces of herself back together and figure out what she truly believes in and who she can really trust. The book itself is interesting because in the movie Rogue One, a Star Wars story, we see at the beginning of the movie how Jyn gets orphaned and saved by Saul in the cave. And then we don't see her until 13 years later when she's grown up and she's picked up from a Imperial prison world by the rebels who need her to get in touch with Saul for the mission in the movie. So this fills in the blanks there. And it's interesting to see in the book itself how her relationship with Saw Gerrera actually forms, how she gets her training, because there are scenes in Rogue One where she is like a ninja in her combat skills.
Yeah.
So you see where she gets that training, and you also see where she gets that air of indifference initially when the rebels pick her up and want her help. Basically she's of the mindset of, keep your head down and don't draw the attention of the Empire and they'll leave you alone. And the story itself relates all these different experiences that she has over this time period where it really forms her personality. The Jyn Erso that you see in the movie there is already a complete and complicated person.
Okay.
And the book itself shows you how she gets there. So it's a nice bridge, in the movie itself. So you kind of see where she comes from. And you kind of know where she winds up too, because she winds up getting captured at some point in time because she's in prison. But it's interesting in the movie itself. She confronts Saul and basically says, "You left me in a bunker with a gun and said to stay there."
Right.
And that story itself is related in the book, and you really get the background on it. So it's kind of interesting to get some of that background story. Star Wars Rebel Rising by Disney Lucasfilm Press, and it's available now in paperback and audiobook.
Very cool.
So we will come back and we will talk about some upcoming events. So what's the first thing we want to talk about?
So we've been talking about a bunch of these things for a while now, but just kind of recap them again. So the first that is coming up is March 13th through the 15th, and that's Monster Mania Con 45. It's at the Crown Plaza in Cherry Hill. I just wanted to kind of, for anybody that was in the area that wanted to go, just to kind of give you an idea of the pricing. They have, a couple of early bird tickets that you can buy where basically you get in an hour beforehand. But the normal price is $60 for all 3 days or $25 for each day. And kids under 10 are free. So anybody 11 and older does need a full price ticket. They don't do like a kid's ticket. And this is one that we've gone to, multiple years. We don't always go every year. It's kind of one we skip every now and then we go.
And it also depends on, who's going to be there.
Right.
Even though reunions there from time to time.
And we normally don't do any of the celebrity stuff. But it's kind of cool because the one area, they do have where you can kind of walk around and in most cases you can see them. You don't necessarily, they do frown upon you taking pictures, without paying for them.
Well, we went the 1 year and they had, the ghost hunters were there.
Right. We did that the 1 year and it was like $10 or $15 or something. I think that was the only time that we ever got.
And then we inadvertently had lunch with Herschel.
Right. The one time that was kind of cool when they had, a bunch of the people from Walking Dead. So if you're into, and what's neat is a lot of the vendors that are there have horror-related things. So, if you're into that type of genre, and you go to a convention or, you're looking for that unique horror object, this is definitely a place, to go and find it. So that's going to be the 13th through the 15th. Then a couple of weeks later is the Delaware Toy Show, which is on Saturday, March 28th at the Near Shrine Center in Newcastle, Delaware. That only goes from 9 to 2. Admission is $5. Children 12 and under are free. And then they do an early bird admission at 8 o'clock for $10. And that's just toy trains. Then the following day is the April Fool's Toy Show, which is on Sunday, March 29th, and that goes from 10 to 4. Price is the same, $5 for regular admission, $10 if you do the 9 a.m. early bird admission, and then 12 and under are free. And that's one, it's very much more so, as we mentioned, kind of a flea market-y.
Yeah. You don't have guest panels or anything like that.
Yeah, it's just toys. There's no cosplay. Nobody dresses up.
You can get a lot of the vendors, which is funny. A lot of the vendors go there with the intent of displaying their stuff.
Right.
They have no intention of selling some of the top end stuff.
Yeah, because some of the stuff, is just way too expensive, way too pricey. You can usually haggle to get stuff down. But yeah, there's those couple of vendors that really, they're just there to show off their stuff. You can find, some of the bootleg DVD people.
Not that we endorse that at all.
Not that we endorse that at all. There are some people that have new stuff, because there are some people that have like local comic book stores or toy stores that, come and sell.
It's a great place to find little odds and ends to complete collections.
Right. Like, oh, I didn't know they made this part of it, and it's $5 to get in. And then there's actually we had mentioned before, there's the farmer's market, flea market, literally right up the road. So, you can walk around there to get some snacks.
But don't order a Diet Coke from the donut vendor.
Guy.
He's very anti-aspartame.
He's very anti-aspartame. That was really funny.
What else do we have?
Then we have the Great Philadelphia Comic Con, which will be April 3rd to the 5th.
And why is it great?
Because they said so.
Right.
It's at the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center in Oaks. The ticket prices are $70 for the 3 days. Friday is $30, Saturday is $45, and then Sunday is $35. And kids 10 and under are free. That was one that we went to last year for the first time. because every other year we hadn't been home
Right.
when it was going on. So it's definitely one that we enjoy. Because it's actually really big. If you've ever been to the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center, there's multiple
Convention
halls,
halls.
and usually they have 2 or 3 things going on at one time. But when they have the Great Philadelphia Comic Con, it's the whole section, so you really get an appreciation for how big it is.
You can walk up and down the aisles and not be bumping against people. They give you nice spacious aisles to navigate.
There's nothing that was crowded, definitely not like New York Comic Con.
And it's not that it's not well attended. It's just a very large venue to have it at.
Very large venue.
It's very well managed.
When we parked by BJ's. I dropped you guys off.
If you've never been there,
you'd never understand. It was far, far away. Galaxy far away.
Was it a long time ago, too?
It was so far ago. Then, that kind of rounds out April. Then, kind of May is quiet. There's probably something going on in May. We just don't know about it. But then starting in June 5th through the 7th, is the Pop Mania Con 1, which is the sister convention to Monster Mania. That, again, same location, the Crown Plaza Hotel in Cherry Hill. Ticket prices are the same, $60 for all 3 days or $25 for each day. Kids 10 and under are free. And this one's, probably going to be the same, makeup of the rooms, with the celebrities and stuff, but now everything, all pop culture, not just, the horror stuff. And then Wizard World, because we've been hinting at it, but we haven't actually talked about it. So Wizard World is actually going to be June 19th through the 21st, and that's at the Philadelphia Convention Center in Center City. It'll be Friday, the 19th through Sunday, the 21st. Right now, the only ticket prices that I saw was they actually had an early bird special for a 3-day admission was $49.99. So that's actually
really good.
That's really good.
We might go now.
Now we might actually go. Now the sale actually ends in 20 days. Because I couldn't find anything on the website that actually said, what the next ticket price was. I know the last time when we wanted to go, it was like $60 a day, and that was for one day.
Yeah.
So right now, if you're interested in going, for 2 days even, for $50.
Tickets.
Yeah. When I saw that today, I was like, oh, darn, we might actually be
They still
going.
don't have their guests listed, though.
Yeah, and because it's still kind of, early. Now, with each paid adult admission, you do get to bring up to 2 children, but 10 and under for your kids. So, unfortunately for us, our kid's now really expensive.
She's not 10 or under.
She's not 10 or under. But again, they don't really have much listed for, the guests or anything. But again, if you're willing to take a chance, it's definitely not that expensive, especially for a 3-day, pass. We did a 3-day pass years ago, where when she was actually still in preschool, she went to preschool on Friday. The 2 of us went to the show for a couple of hours on Friday, then all day Saturday, and what was nice was because we were there multiple days, we could do panels.
Right.
We didn't feel rushed.
And then Sunday we shopped because we got all the deals.
Right, exactly. So, the Friday hours are only from 12 to 7, Saturday is 10 to 7, and then Sunday is 10 to 4. So for $50, that's actually a really good deal, especially for Wizards. The only thing is obviously parking and whatnot, unless you live in the city or, do, some sort of transportation.
Yeah, Philly's not friendly for people who drive.
No, not at all.
So what else we got?
Then after Wizards, we have Keystone Comic Con, which is also the Philadelphia Convention Center, basically a month later, August 28th 8th through the 30th. Ticket prices for that is Friday is a flat $30. Saturday, it's $55 or $45 if you order it by August 15th. So save $10, a week before.
That's
the
another
show.
good one where they got a lot of room in there and it's not overly crowded.
Yeah,
and
then
it's a good size show too.
Yeah, and then Sunday is $45, but $35 if you buy it before August 15th, because that's actually what we ended up doing. We did just the Sunday ticket, and I bought it like 2 weeks ahead of time, so we saved, the $20. Or you can get a 3-day pass. Now, their 3-day pass is $80 if you buy it before the 18th.
Wow.
And
Wizard
then
World's
$90.
cheaper?
Yeah,
Wow.
but that's the whole thing is I don't know how much more Wizards is going to go up because it's only for another 20 days. So as of right now, Wizards is cheaper. But if this is going to be, $90, you can imagine how much, Wizards is going to be. And that's also just for the regular, pass. They have all the VIP and the ads on. This is just the generic, hey, I want to go and experience. How much is it going to cost me to get in?
And last but certainly not least, we have
RetroCon
2020.
I didn't grab the pricing for this one, but this one is the end of September, September 26th through the 27th. I want to say it's like $20.
Well, let's see.
15 something. Look at that.
$20.
$20 for Saturday, $15 for Sunday, 12 and under. Kids are free with a paying adult. And that one is back in Oaks at the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center. And that's a nice one.
And any convention that can advertise with a picture of Orko, you have to respect that.
That's definitely one where you get a bunch of cosplay walking around. You get some B-list celebrities. Is that even?
Yeah.
Do they even, But it's neat because there are people that you're like, all right.
So Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart.
Okay. Yeah.
Voice of Space Ghost.
Okay.
George Lowe.
Okay.
A couple other credits there. Tim Clark.
Toy designer and yeah, it's definitely one where you don't go for the guests. It's really more.
You don't want to go see Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart.
I really care about it, but it's one that we go to mostly to look for what they have, to
Absolutely.
buy, toys and stuff like that. So it's really more of a toy where they do kind of throw in, some celebrities here and there, but always, a good time, going to that one as well.
All right. And I think that was all we had on that extensive list. I mean, that's a whole nother segment right there.
I know. See?
That's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
I think that's it for today. If you want to send comments over to us with requests, suggestions, snide remarks, bad jokes.
Whatever. Just say hi.
You can email us at comments@insightsintothings.com.
On Twitter @insights_things.
On YouTube at youtube.com/insightsintothings.
On the web at www.insightsintothings.com.
You can get our audio podcast at podcast.insightsintoentertainment.com.
Or on Facebook at facebook.com/insightsintothingspodcast.
And I will throw out there that we have a new video hosting provider for all of our video podcasts. I don't have the link here right now, but if you subscribe to our video links off of iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere else that you can subscribe to podcasts, it is the same subscription. We just changed where the source of it was.
Right.
So I'll have a direct link on the show for the show next week. And that is it.
That is it.
Another one in the books.
Have a good week, everyone.
We're out.